Hi there. There is a lot of finger pointing going on about what to do with refugees. Have you noticed? On the one hand, you've got to be uncaring and cold-hearted. On the other, you've got to be crazy or stupid. I've seen pictures of a lifeless little boy lying in the surf of a distant beach with a seemingly finger-pointed quote from Jesus. I was a stranger, and you did not let me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. Ouch! Did I drown that little boy? It feels like I did. I must be uncaring. I've also seen pictures of lots of able-bodied young men behind fences somewhere in Europe who were awaiting refugee status and permission to continue their trek with the accompanying question, do these look like widows and children? Well, no, they don't. Not at all. Gosh, I guess I'd be a fool to let them migrate to the USA, right? One of my favorite finger-pointing posts uses the ancient story of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus as a means of shame on you. And it's right on time for Christmas. It's so good. It belittles Christians who will have on display a nativity scene depicting the Holy Family and the holy moment of Jesus' birth to Middle Eastern refugees, because these same Christians will at the same time be demanding that the contemporary equivalent, refugees, Syrian, be denied a place here in the USA. With ridicule-laden words, they write, there is still no room at the inn. Ah, isn't that beautiful? I think that's unfair and unwise. Not only were Joseph, Mary, and Jesus not refugees in the beautiful nativity scene moment, their angel-directed flight to Egypt had not yet begun. But also, a single family migrating is nothing like the hundreds of thousands now moving across Europe and perhaps heading for our shores. To employ the ancient story as a means of belittling and shaming those Christians who are advocating caution in the mass migration is not fair because it's not the contemporary equivalent. Further, it's not wise because those administering the scolding have accepted the dangerous position of prosecutor for the government. That will not work out well for anybody, scolder and scoldee, whether liberal or conservative. In my view, most people do not believe that the government is listening to them anymore. Not really. And you know, the government, remember that a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth kind of thing? Instead, they believe, many of us believe, that the government is perishing because the system has reversed. People must do what the government dictates. So, to many of us, life increasingly feels like it's about a people of the government, by the government, and for the government. But we know that won't work. That will perish. History proves that in an ugly way. So, since that people are raising a cautionary stop sign over it is, I think, a symptom of a larger issue. Government nativity and Christian naivete. I'll explain. Fortunately for us, our government was not meant to be the birthplace, the nativity scene of anything, only the channel of the will of the people and the provider and protector of those same people. That's what it's for. The preamble to the Constitution reads, We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. What follows that is how the will of the people shall and shall not be carried out. To be sure, there is and always has been a hairy fight going on as to who will represent us and our will as the government. But the government must not give birth to a will and a direction of its own. We call that tyranny. When and if it does, the people will have become its unwilling servant. The people will have no voice, and the people will have no choice. And the hearts of the people no longer matter. That's going to cause a struggle, which I think, and many of us think, is what we're seeing now. Here's my point. We must not use the same methods of struggle against an increasingly unresponsive and non-representative government as we do in our relationship with Christian brothers and sisters. If our government, without a vote of the people, decides to bring in thousands of foreigners for whom there can be no real vetting, no real determination if they're for us or against us, and you take the government's side, and you use Scripture to prosecute against Christians who disagree, you will be in a mixed-up world of trouble, even if you're simply naive. You will be confusing government with church, and the distinction is vital. You know that Christians are going to be, they're going to love and they're going to care for people, whether they're across the street or across the globe. It's what we do. But that is not the role of government. Christians gladly give many millions of dollars every year to organizations like World Vision and Compassion International. Thousands of Christians make life-changing use of international adoption agencies, and they look magnificent and godly in the process. Why? Why do they do it? Why do we do it? Because our hearts are engaged by God for people. That's the deal. That's the church, God's body working well. So we expect great love, kindness, and compassion to come from the church. And when it does not, we take a close look in order to assist it to the grace and outflow we expect. Since God is in there, I might say, there ought to be some evidence. So let me help you to find him so he can produce that evidence. That's a lot of what I do. So the purpose of our government is one thing, and the purpose of the church is another. Get that confused, and the tangle will do nasty things to you, maybe even make you do nasty things to Christians. Maybe you've noticed that going on a little bit. So, life in the heart is what Jesus is all about. And I want to encourage people, I want to encourage you to find, experience, and enjoy his life. What comes from there is the evidence of God. And that's a big deal. To me, it's the biggest deal. The evidence of God in people, even to people. In that display of God's grace in a person. Laws and decrees are not needed, but are contradictory. God's life is not created by law. Neither should law come from God's life. They don't go together. Romans chapter 6, verse 14 says this, "For sin shall not be master over you, for you are not under law, but under grace." What grace? The grace of life, the life of Christ in you. And he comes not by law or by decree, neither does he make them. He himself supersedes law. He is the way, the truth, and the life for you on the inside. Finally, I want to caution everyone against really badly using Scripture to manipulate emotion and behavior. When we resort to using the Bible as a cudgel, a weapon, whether it's wielded by a liberal-leaning or a conservative-leaning person, then we'll almost always stop letting the verses touch us and reveal life to us and in us, the evidence of God at work. Instead, we'll begin barricading ourselves behind our positions, using verses as bullets to do harm rather than as offerings to assist and make well. And that's what they're for. I hope this helps. See you later.